We're going to protect Christianity, and I can say that. I don't have to be politically correct, or we're going to protect it. If you look what's going on throughout the world, you look at Syria, where if you're Christian, they're chopping off heads. You look at the different places, and Christianity, it's under siege.
All right, that was Donald Trump speaking to students at Liberty University in Lynchburg earlier today. Now, Trump vowed to set aside political correctness and protect Christianity around the globe. Here with reaction, the president of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell, Jr. It wasn't quite an endorsement, but many people took it as almost one when you said, you know, you introduced him as one of the greatest visionaries of our time, and you've remained in close contact with him. Does your position prevent you from endorsing? That kind of sounded like an endorsement.
Well, Liberty University is a non-profit 501c3 university, so of course Liberty cannot endorse candidates, and we invite all the candidates to come speak. But I got to know Donald Trump after he spoke here in 2012, and I learned so much about him that the public never hears, and I wanted to share that with our audience. Right after he visited here last time, I called him about a large Christian ministry in another state that needed some help. I learned within a day or two he had donated $100,000 of his own money. He learned about Clyde Frazier, Jr., who ran the Harlem Hoops tournament in the inner city and was killed in the 9/11 attacks, and he searched down the family, and he donated the money to keep that tournament going. Example after example like that of just generosity that never made it into the public's eye. His limousine broke down one time. A couple stopped and helped him. He paid off their mortgage a few days later. These are all things that you never hear about Donald Trump because he comes across as sort of a tough businessman. And it just reminded me so much of my father, because my father would make politically incorrect statements all those years, and in real life and in his personal relationships with people. He gave away so many scholarships to students at Liberty. He almost bankrupted the school here, and he always was just giving away. He was always...
Scholarship, and I know that's true. Here's one thing people didn't know about your dad. The limousine story is interesting. So a couple stopped to help him, and he paid off their mortgage. That's pretty impressive. And people would say, okay, well, he has the money to do it, but there are a lot of wealthy people that don't do things like that. But I knew something about your dad.
And he heard. No, I was going to tell you, on 60 Minutes, Trump was watching a report about a Maytag plant that moved out of Iowa into Mexico. And the three companies in that report, he actually searched them out. They were about to go out of business because Maytag had left, and he found ways to buy products from those companies through his hotels to keep them in business. He gave them money to the local Domino's pizza restaurant so they could buy cheese and bread and keep their business in business. And those are just things I thought the world needed to know about Donald Trump, because the Bible says, by their fruits you shall know them. And he may not be a theological expert, and he might say 2 Corinthians instead of 2 Corinthians, but when you look at the fruits of his life and all the people he's provided jobs, I think that's the true test of somebody's Christianity, not whether or not they use the right theological terms. But I'm sorry, go ahead, Sean.
You told me on my radio show a while back, and you mentioned this today, and by the way, there's pictures of Convocation. I've had the honor to speak there, and that is an experience like no other. It's amazing. But you see a lot of your dad in Donald Trump. That I think surprised a lot of people. Explain.
Well, my father was criticized for supporting Ronald Reagan over Jimmy Carter, because Ronald Reagan was a Hollywood actor who had been divorced and remarried. Jimmy Carter was a Sunday school teacher, and my father said, he said proudly that Jesus said, render unto Caesar, and that means be good citizens, be voting citizens. And he said, when I go in the voting booth, I'm not electing a Sunday school teacher or a theologian or somebody who agrees with my theological views. I'm voting for the person who is most qualified to be the president of the United States. And the qualities that are required to be the president are not always the same ones that make a good Sunday school teacher. Prime example of that is Jimmy Carter. He was a great Sunday school teacher, but look what he did to our country as president. And so those are the kind of things that remind me of my father and Trump. And I think just the personal generosity. I noticed at the debate in Charleston the other night, he was the only candidate who came down off the stage and greeted the crowd personally, posed for pictures. Everybody else was too important, too busy, too tired. And that's the kind of thing that, you know, we've been promised as evangelicals and conservatives. So many promises have been made to us by career politicians over the last few decades. You know, I told the crowd this morning, the polls seem to indicate the founding fathers believed that this country should be governed by citizen legislators. And I think the polls are starting to indicate that the American public want to see somebody who has succeeded in real life, not career politicians. And I think that's why he's surging.
Does that mean he got a bigger crowd than I did at Convocation? Is that what you're telling me? An overflow crowd?
Well, not too much bigger, but yeah, bigger. It was a little bigger, and we had thousands of employees marching around campus.
It was full. There wasn't an empty seat, but I was there.
But they loved you too, Sean. Yeah, the place was full both times.
All right, Jerry Falwell Jr., thank you for being with us. Appreciate it.